Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, we have back to school, coming back with that third video. Now we know a lot of these kids are going back, have already went back virtually going to school. Now we know all kids and even all adults, we learn differently. But we know at the workplace, the fact is that a lot of training was changed over to software already. You had trainers at different companies to train you, and all of a sudden they moved over to software. So what do we see with the kids? They're moving the teachers out and bringing in software. Now we have, of course, a teachers union, but of course they can see this, but they're not doing anything about it because we know why. The powers that be, the NWO, are moving these kids in the direction they want them to, and that's what? Just to make them worker bees. And they're really doing it now. They're turning up the gas, guys. And as parents, we have to re-educate our kids. While we have them home, we have to take advantage of this. Because what are they trying to do? They're trying to push mom back home. That's what they're doing. If the kid is at home and they have to learn, that means mom has no choice. Even though she may be at home working, but still she has to work. She can't attend to the child and educate them the way they need to be. Now we know that this is just a test. We know the kids are going to be back into school. But the fact is that once we have World War III that's coming up, the kids are going to be forced, what? Back home. This is nothing but a test for the big run at the end. And who's getting paid off of this, guys? That's right. The big corporations are getting paid. Bill Gates, software. So guys, the NWO is just moving the masses in a direction. But y'all enjoy the video.
I feel, the AFT last week announced that they didn't want to take any more Gates money when it came to the Common Core, because the assumption is there that they're somehow being bought by Gates and they're not voicing their own honest opinions about the core, that there's something compromising about it. So I wondered, are you concerned at all that you're becoming a liability here, or how do you answer those concerns? People think that you're the unelected school superintendent of the country.
Well, certainly you combined sort of way too many things there.
Okay.
I mean, there's no connection between the AFT Innovation Fund. It was more about teacher evaluation, where locals would apply for various things. Anyway, it's not.
How about this simple notion that because you are funding so much of this, so much of the Common Core and charter schools and teacher evaluation, that you're promoting it and advocating for it, that you have become you're a very powerful figure in K-12 education right now, but you're unelected. Some people say that's undemocratic.
Well, it's important to separate out two things. There's how much resource and energy is going into new ideas and trying new things out. And then there's the question of what gets chosen to be adopted. And in terms of what gets chosen to be adopted, that's determined by school boards, governors, superintendents, and we're not a factor in terms of...
These people are taking the private, confidential information of your children.
And amazingly, they're not even trying to hide it.
They're not hiding it. They're not hiding it.
They don't even care that you know. Bill Gates is pretty open and honest about it.
And here's here's Bill Gates. Listen to this.
In terms of standards, the state-led Common Core State Standards Initiative is developing clear, rigorous standards that will match the best in the world.
Not true.
Last month, 46 governors and chief state school officers made a public commitment to embrace those standards. This is encouraging, but identifying common standards is just the starting point.
Right.
Listen.
We'll only know if this effort has succeeded when the curriculum and tests are aligned to these standards. Secretary Arne Duncan recently announced that $350 million of the stimulus package will be used to create just these kinds of tests.
Think of that, $350 million from stimulus, $200 million now from Gates. I don't know how much from Yahoo.
And Google.
But we're easily at $600 or $700 million right now. We might be close to $1 billion.
No, it is stunning. And by the way, what Bill Gates is announcing, the White House has in past said that's not true.
We're not doing any of that stuff. We're not standing. We're not doing any of that stuff. I mean, everything that he's
Gates
talking about.
Oh, he spills it all here.
Yeah, and listen to what he's about to say.
Next generation assessments aligned to the Common Core. When the tests are aligned to the common standards, the curriculum will line up as well.
Good.
And it will unleash a powerful market of people providing services for better teaching.
Stop. Wait a minute. It will unleash a powerful market for people looking to learn how to teach the children. And so what they're saying here is,
and also, by the way, how to market to these same children.
Right. So but Bill Gates is developing software that will be used in this. That's why he's investing all of this money, because Microsoft will be able to own and sell all of the software for this particular system. So they've really invested in, let's get this system through, because look how much money we have. A powerful, quote, a powerful new market. Now, can you imagine saying that about anything else? Imagine if McDonald's said,
or Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, we've got a, if we can just get this through, our charitable arm of Coca-Cola has put in all of this stuff in lunchrooms because it'll be good for the kids to get healthy, but it also will provide us a powerful new market.
This is an amazing
moment
of honesty from Gates, because normally he would sell this, I would think, in that I really believe in this because
no, I think he does.
Our kids will grow up to be better employees, and they'll be able to work at Microsoft, and we'll have more skilled, trained employees in the future. That's the way I'd be selling it. If I'm investing $200 million.
We have, but see,
he's talking about his market.
But that's even more evil, I think. That's even more evil. That is saying that these corporations
people mind a trained employee force.
Could we just look at that though for a second? Because on the surface that does sound good. That are they going to train for a job? Okay, you've got a corporation, training people. Not by choice. Not by choice. If let's say the Glenn Beck School of Broadcast. If you want to come to the Glenn Beck School of Broadcast, you can come to the Glenn Beck School of Broadcast, and I'll teach your kids about history and everything else all the way up, and because it will provide great new reporters for the Blaze, great new filmmakers for the Blaze. That's great. That would be your choice. But if Glenn Beck was putting in all of this money and dumping it in because I say I'm going to have all these new trained workers and I'm going to help design the curriculum and everything else. If I and a group of other industrialists were all getting together and saying, let's do this because this is going to be good for us, that's evil.
Yeah, and
that's evil.
That's one of the aspects of this Common Core thing we haven't really talked about much, is that part of this plan is to pigeonhole the kids into a certain line
of work. By the time
they're going
they're
to decide by the time they're in junior high or something,
like
middle
sixth
school,
grade.
The plan is to know whether they're going to be a technician or a mechanic or
communism.
A doctor. Yeah,
it is communism.
And then you funnel them through that system and they're going to have very little choice in the matter. But he goes on a little bit more.
For the first time, there'll be a large uniform base of customers looking at using products that can help every kid learn and every teacher get better.
Stop. Let's just translate. So this is great because it's going to help kids learn. But listen to me. There's going to be a long line of customers.
Uniform customers.
Yeah, uniform customers. So I just have to
make
make one product because nobody's going to get out of that product line.
Yeah, it's like saying if we make everybody vegetarian, so we can sell a lot more veggie burgers.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and I don't have to worry about veggie burgers and burgers.
Right. I don't have to have all the different varieties.
I don't have to have varieties. Everybody's going to be uniform. So look at what we're doing here. And by the way, he starts at the beginning talking about how this is a state-run. No, it's not. Why is the UN involved in this? Why is the UN involved?
Yeah.
It's state-run. The governors have been convinced, they came up with this. No, they didn't. Don't you see, you governors, you've been played. Now, an honest governor will come out in an honest moment and reflect and say, gosh, was I played? How? Wait a minute. What? I mean, I have to tell you something. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and again, someday we will write a book and we'll tell you everything that has happened behind the scenes, but there are reasons why we don't say certain things, because you're dealing with extraordinarily powerful, and dangerous people in today's world. And we tell you as much as we possibly can, and if we felt it was a danger to you, we would tell you. But I will tell you that there is a conversation that I had with one of my inner staff just this weekend. And I said, you remember this situation? They said, yes. And I said, we walked out thinking, we won that. I think the other side walked out of that saying, we won that. Which one of us was playing the other? Which one of us was the better chess player here? And in an honest moment, a governor will sit back and say, well, wait a minute. I know that some of these things might have seemed to come with me, but who suggested that to me? Who was around me that was saying, hey, it would be a good idea, and I kind of got up? Did it really come from me, or did it come from somebody around me, and how are they connected? Have I been played here? Because the answer is yes, you have been played. These governors are all taking ownership of this, and they didn't have anything to do with it. And they want to believe that they are changing everything for the better, and they are not. Governors, if you really want to know how you've been played, call me up. Call me up. I will show you off the air. You don't ever have to know. I will show you exactly how you're played, and I will show it going all the way back to Stuart Chase, the guy who coined the term the New Deal. I will show you how they have had this plan in the works. So how could it possibly be your idea? How could it possibly be your idea? It's insidious, and we are not dealing with flesh and bone. We are not dealing with that. We are dealing with evil. And there comes a time when you have to just say what it is, and it's evil. And if you want to look at it just from the standpoint of not manipulating our children with their data and everything else, just look at it, leftists, just look at it as gigantic corporations going in and controlling your children's future. Don't you want your child to be able to say, no, there's more to me than an employee of Microsoft. There's more to me than an employee of GE or an employee of Google. Maybe my kid wants to put Google and Microsoft out of business. There's more to me than just a worker for somebody else. I mean, it's incredible how we are enslaving ourselves and doing it so clearly.
Now to the big changes coming for Florida education. The replacement of Common Core is now coming. The question, though, that still lingers, what exactly is going to replace it? Well, tonight, our state capitol reporter, Forrest Saunders, with the new details starting to trickle out of Tallahassee.
Sometime this week, the Department of Ed releases its full plan for BEST, Common Core's replacement. Till then, parents, teachers, lawmakers waiting and wondering what the future will bring.
It's about time. People have been talking about it for a while.
Republicans, including State Party Chair Senator Joe Gruters, praising the governor's repeal of the 10-year-old standards, celebrating a key element of BEST, a return to math basics.
I'm a CPA, and I have a hard time figuring out some of the math problems that my first grader brought home.
Other expected elements, a strong emphasis on civics, reading entire books instead of chunks, financial literacy, and fewer exams, but a requirement all students take the SAT or ACT, offered free to 11th graders.
We looked at the summary when it was released on Friday. We liked what we saw so far.
Florida's Parent-Teacher Association feeling it was heard despite the limited detail last week. The group helping advise the crafting of BEST, saying one of its biggest strengths, parents will better understand the material and be able to help with homework.
We know research tells us that an engaged parent leads to a successful child.
The Jesuits, for 400 years, they were boasting. People didn't understand. They say, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. They've been saying that for 400 years because they knew 7 years was the program period. And 95% of your life after that will be whatever that program is. And after age 7, how do you put new programs in? Repetition.
The model of going to school to learn is relatively new. Before 1900, most children learned at home and out in the real world. In 1837, the state of Massachusetts formed the first state board of education, with Horace Mann as its secretary. Mann believed that everyone was entitled to the same content in education. Returning from a research trip to Germany in 1848, Mann lobbied heavily to have the Prussian model adopted. He quickly set about establishing a statewide system of common schools, staffed by professionally trained teachers. His ideas quickly gained momentum, and by 1852, Massachusetts passed a compulsory attendance law. Mann also believed that school could become a great equalizer, and values such as obedience to authority, promptness in attendance, and organizing time according to bell ringing would help students prepare for future employment in an industrial age.
And the whole purpose of it is to create a docile factory military workforce. The whole purpose is to subordinate children and get them in that mindset of being subordinated so they grow up to be subordinated adults.
This is the poorest class I've had. Prussian schooling had been out to destroy the imagination. In every public library worth its salt in the United States and in every college library, you will find a collection of essays by a Prussian philosopher, Johann Fichte. Fichte said we have to set up a system of universal forced schooling in which we destroy the imagination. Bells, ordered lessons, constant testing, rankings.
The entire system is designed to regiment a large group of people and to get them all to do the exact same thing.
By 1900, 34 states had compulsory schooling laws. Half the nation's children attended one-room schools. And by 1918, every state required students to complete elementary school.
The reality is they want children to take their place in society, be cogs, and keep this system going. So you're going to school to take your place.
Now the trouble's with your attitude. You don't pay enough attention in class.
1914, militia slaughters strikers at Ludlow, Colorado. Ending a bitter coal miner strike, Colorado militiamen attack a tent colony of strikers, killing dozens of men, women, and children. When the evictions failed to end the strike, the Rockefeller interest hired private detectives that attacked the tent colonies with rifles and Gatling guns. The miners fought back, and several were killed. When the tenacity of the strikers became apparent, the Rockefellers approached the governor of Colorado, who authorized the use of the National Guard. The Rockefellers agreed to pay their wages. At first, the strikers believed that the government had sent the National Guard to protect them. They soon discovered, though, that the militia was under orders to break the strike. On this day in 1914, 2 companies of guardsmen attacked the largest tent colony of strikers near the town of Ludlow, home to about 1,000 men, women, and children. The attack began in the morning with a barrage of bullets fired into the tents. The miners shot back with pistols and rifles. After a strike leader was killed while attempting to negotiate a truce, the strikers feared the attack would intensify. To stay safe from gunfire, women and children took cover into pits dug under the tents. At dusk, guardsmen moved down from the hills and set the tent colony on fire with torches, shooting at the families as they fled into the hills. The true carnage, however, was not discovered until the next day, when a telephone linesman discovered a pit under one of the tents filled with burned remains of 11 children and 2 women. Although the Ludlow massacre outraged many Americans, the tragedy did little to help the beleaguered Colorado miners and their families. Additional federal troops crushed the coal miners' strike, and the miners failed to achieve recognition of their union or any significant improvement in their wages and working conditions. 66 men, women, and children died during the strike, but not a single militiaman or private detective was charged with any crime. Folks, I posted this in response to some comments that I saw yesterday about the wildfires in California, the rail system. Well, folks, I just want to let you know, when evil people that have lots of money want their way, people die when you get in their way. It's happened before. It's happened.